All right, folks, welcome back to yet another episode of Fresh Juice, an indie game podcast. I'm one of your hosts, Tommy Fresh, and joined, as always, it is
Matt T. Juice. What? There you go. There's those finger points. That way, perfect. We got it right this time. Welcome, everybody. Episode 73, my lord of the Fresh Juice podcast. Tommy, how are you?
I'm good. Just happy to be here, right? Had a pretty busy weekend. Painted the Stewed, if anybody's noticed. Going to start being able to put all my, posters up and artwork. So that'll be nice. Kind of make this a little bit himmier, which will be nice. What we did on Saturday, and then Valentine's Day, we made homemade pasta. That was a lot of fun. Yeah, little like in-home date, because Valentine's Day can be like brutal to go out to a restaurant. I always feel like, so usually we do like the raclette. If anybody knows what that is, I know Capolo does because Capolo's from Switzerland, but it is like
what is that?
It's a type of cheese that you kind of you have like this kind of grill, like almost like a griddle on the table, and you just melt the cheese, the raclette cheese. You can also melt other kinds of cheeses as well, and then you kind of like you're like grilling like vegetables and sausages and stuff like that on top. Normally do that, but for the wedding we did get a pasta maker, so we're like, let's bust that out. So made some spaghetti. It was delicious, actually. It was really good. We made enough for 2 nights, which was cool as well. And then played Flesh and Blood on Sunday. My only chance at doing nationals this year, and did not go well. I'll say that. I brought a deck that specifically has a lot of great matchups right now, and then 1 to 2 specifically bad matchups that you hope to just not run into. You're just like, hope I don't get paired into it. If that doesn't happen, I can afford maybe 1 pair, get into there. But I started 1-1, and then went 3 rounds in a row against my worst matchup. So what can you do? Still had fun. It was good to get out and got a nice little promo out of it. And then today got some lunch with the in-laws. That was nice. Went to a nice Peruvian place near us. It was tasty. And I got to play a little bit more of the game that we're playing this week, which is Dawnfolk. Folks, if we haven't mentioned it, we're going to be talking about that soon. How was your weekend?
Yeah, it was good overall. We started Pluto, our pup, his first class of therapy dog training.
Nice.
Yeah, just because as we announced last week, I am going to be Daddy Juice. So we figured it'd be good for him to. He went through like obedience training, and then therapy dog training might help. And it's kind of interesting. They actually bring out they're going to be bringing out like wheelchairs and walkers and stuff, so the dogs like get used to them. And so if they go visit people at like nursing homes or whatever, or hospitals, they're not like freaked out by these things they've never seen, I guess. So I'm like, oh, I didn't even think of that. Like for some reason I was thinking the training would be different. So so that was good. We also went to there's a place that our mutual buddy Pat has said is very good, called Panini Bistro. There's 4 of them in Jersey, I believe. So we happen to be near one of them, and I was like, hey, let's go pick it up and try it out. And it was delicious. And I haven't had many paninis in my life. Hasn't been really something I've had quite a bit. So and these are particularly good, and they have a bunch of other stuff too. But got to shout out Panini Bistro. We've had it twice, and it's been solid. Very good.
Taking a look at the menu now, I mean, this is right up my alley. I do like a nice panini. I like a nice pressed sandwich.
Yeah.
Which one did you get?
So I got basically like the Reuben one, and then I got another one that was just a variation on another pastrami sandwich. So I've got 2, but I'm gonna get they have a lot of they have like 40 plus paninis. So I'm just trying to work my way through. I think each time I have it, I'll just get a new one. But I was really in a pastrami mood for some reason, so I went with that, a different version of it. But yeah, it was good. Good onion rings, good fries, and it was good. Yeah. So other than that, though, I guess another, it's been a food filled weekend. We did a belayed Valentine's, so we went to this place, Charcoal is what it's called, and it's
Okay.
yeah, they it's a steakhouse kind of place, and I actually got like spicy rigatoni vodka. They like hand make their pasta there, and my wife got like a steak sandwich. Delicious stuff, delicious food, really good place that we like going to from time to time. So yeah, food filled weekend. It's about it. Did some chores around the house and all that stuff too, trying to organize for the baby and all that jazz. But
Well,
yeah,
food is cool. Organizing for the baby is also cool. It's been a windy weekend as well.
yeah, it's
Yeah,
crazy.
yes. I mean, for those listeners out there from the Jersey area, I mean, it sounded like a train was going by my house, and I do not live near a train, and it was pretty wild. I will
Yeah.
say we did watch some of the SNL 50th anniversary stuff this weekend, which was happening, and I had a nightmare last night about a land shark, which obviously land shark is from the original SNL cast and not scary, but like in my mind, there was a giant land shark going to burst out of like a parking lot and kill me. So that was cool. Now,
Nice.
we do have a great episode for you all today. We're going to be talking about Dawnfolk in a bit here. But first, some news. We actually don't have a lot of news, but the biggest news of all time is that we do have a Discord, which is free for everybody to join. It's in the show notes below. It's a great place to hang out, ask questions to the show, like this show, and which we will have questions from juice heads coming from that Discord, as well as recommend some games, check out some games other people are recommending. We only cover one game a week. There's a lot of games that come out, folks, and I would say we've already missed. Like, we didn't miss. We covered some great games so far, but there were some other bangers that have come out so far in this month alone. Like Keep Driving, people keep talking about as kind of a smash hit here. So, check out the Discord, folks. Some other stuff in the news. Nothing really. It's been slow. It was a slow week.
Yeah. Yeah. Nothing really jumped out. Sometimes when you're looking at the indie news, it's just roundups of like the 10 best games I've played this year, things like
Mhm.
that. So it just happens to be one of those weeks. But yeah, that's all right though. We got plenty to talk about with Dawnfolk.
Yeah, yeah, we sure do. Now, what is Dawnfolk, you might be asking? Dawnfolk is a charmingly dark and minimalist survival city builder. We don't do a lot of these kinds of games. Gather resources, rebuild your realm, and protect your people from oppressive shadows. Can you unveil the secrets of the monoliths to bring light back to the world? Now, this is developed by one person, Darren Keller. Shout out Darren Keller. And also make some cool YouTube videos about the game as well. And it's published by Astrological. It's on Steam, and it is $14.99, but 15% off until 2/20. So you'll have a day or two to check out that sale for the introductory kind of stuff. I usually start with the gameplay. You want to talk about your thoughts on the gameplay here, Matt?
Yeah, sure. So, like Tommy said, we don't really play these. This is the first probably actual city builder that we've played. Maybe Preserves, kind of like that environment builder, but definitely not as like intricate as a game like this. So, I don't really play a lot of these games. And I was pleasantly surprised. Let me get the gameplay playing right there. There it is. There you have it. Boom. Yeah. So I don't really play a lot of these kind of games, but what's great about this game is that it's built on. Like, again, I'm not super familiar with city builders, but this is built on like a grid system, and we'll talk about the art style too, because it kind of plays into like there's like simplicity with the gameplay here, but also a decent amount of complexity the further that you go. So I really appreciated that in the gameplay. So you kind of start out with, like I said, this kind of small grid. It's I think typically it's like a 3x3 grid, and in the middle you have your tent, and around you there could be things like the other blocks of the grid could be a forest, or it could be a desert, or it could be you can it could just be plains, maybe some sea water, things like that. So it's kind of got these different biomes in each of these grids. And each biome kind of allows you to do different things. So you would maybe on the plains, you could drop down like a crop field, and then you could plant some wheat. And basically, what you're trying to do by placing these items on these different blocks is accumulate all these different types of currency. So you have like a light currency, you have a people currency. So there's certain things like building more tents means that you have better people generation. You also have like corn, so that's like your food. So that's what you're building the wheat, I guess, for. I don't know if it is corn that, or if it says wheat field, but you're getting
There is a
corn.
cornfield as well.
There is a cornfield. Okay, yeah, I just kind of realized that. But you're getting food, and then you have like a wood or resource kind of currency as well. So you're basically trying to achieve these certain quests that are presented to you, and you're doing it by placing certain things down and trying to get synergy with different blocks. Now, like I said, it's a 3x3 block when you start, but you do see kind of dimmed blocks that you have to use that light currency in order to illuminate, and that's how you kind of expand your territory. And there is a limit in the number of blocks. I think you'll eventually hit the edge, which it's not that far, but it'll tell you that you hit the edge. But yeah, you're trying to get these like different synergies with these blocks in order to accumulate enough currency to get these quests done. So I really appreciated like the simplicity of that. Like when I think of a city builder, I'm thinking of something like city skylines, and I'm like, that can get pretty complex. And like I don't know if I'm ready for a game like that, but I felt like. I think the description is perfect. Like it's a charmingly dark and minimalist survival city builder. Like that is like minimalist survival city builder is exactly what this is. So I really appreciated that. And another thing with the gameplay is that there are so many modes in this. So
Yeah.
like there's a lot more content than I was anticipating. So there's a story mode, which has different kind of levels that you go through, and each of those levels has different difficulties as well that you can unlock. And then there's a puzzle mode. So it'll kind of give you a situation, it'll give you a certain grid layout, and it will say, okay, figure out how to generate this many people, or figure out how to do this with kind of what we gave you. So there's different puzzle modes. There's also something called Curious Expeditions, which I did one of, which were the level I was thrown into was all desert. So you kind of had to figure out, or most of it was desert. You had to figure out how to like generate food in a desert environment. So that was kind of tricky. Then there's a sandbox, which I guess I haven't actually unlocked that yet. I guess you could just kind of do whatever you want in there. And then there's an endless mode. So you just kind of keep going. So yeah, a lot of modes. Didn't expect that in a game like this. A lot of depth to the gameplay overall. So, yeah, I really enjoyed the gameplay here, and I was going in thinking this was going to be, a struggle. It is kind of once you get to a certain point, you really need to think about the synergies with everything. So it can be a little bit overwhelming, but there's no time limit, right? Really, at the end of the day, I mean, there is a day cycle in the game that you can skip through, and then there will be certain enemies that come out at certain points. But I think you can kind of go indefinitely, so you can really take as long as you want. I think as long as you have enough of the currency to kind of dispel the bad guys as they come. So anyway, there's a lot to the game.
Yeah.
But Tom, what did you think about the gameplay here?
Yeah, I mean, to speak to kind of what you finished there on, you have this natural time, like day cycle going on, and you have the ability to pause it, and then you have the ability to fast forward it, right? So you can pause it and take your time to make a decision, which is like kind of what you'll need eventually, or even out the gates, right? There is a little bit of a learning curve, but once you get the hang of it, and I will say the main character here, Lior, or I'm not sure how you're supposed to pronounce it, but the flame that is kind of basically the main character along with you trying to build out this kind of world is very helpful and kind of like really simple to the point, like, hey, this is why we're doing this. This is why you need it. Now, I love the kind of balance here. You mentioned the four different resources: the light, the people, the corn, and then whatever the building supplies is.
Mm-hmm.
And it shows you up on top. It's got a great little display there, how many of each you have and how many that you're generating. So the cool thing about it is like the decision making here is, okay, let's say I'm like, oh, I'm really low on people. I need to generate more people. So you're like, I'm going to build some tents, but the tents also come at the cost of consumption of your food. So you can get to like negative food if you're watching the video here, but if you're going to check out this gameplay, you'll see that on the display there that you have how many you're generating each turn. You can get to negative, and that's how you're going to start losing different spots on your map. So I really like that kind of balance. You're like, oh, I really need this, but I don't know if I can really give up the food production, or if I'm going to build this to get more people, it's going to take up food. I need to build something else. It's going to take up, going to create some food, et cetera, et cetera. So I really like that balance, that like kind of push and pull, and as you're going through this game. Now, you mentioned all the modes, but I haven't even tackled the other modes yet because I've been kind of sucked into the story mode, and we'll talk about the story. But you know, I wasn't really expecting a story mode in this game, so it was nice to kind of like go through the different levels and experience this game like in the way that they want you to, right? To kind of like show you, all right, this is the first level. You're kind of in the basic land. These are going to be basic tiles that you're going to discover, yada yada yada. This is how you can kind of build out, and then you get into a more desert like area, and then there's more challenges there, and then you go on, you go into the sea, yada yada yada. It's all like really really well laid out, and we'll talk about the story as well. The discovery aspect is really cool as well, right? You're illuminating these tiles, and as a huge Loop Hero fan, I was getting Loop Hero vibes from this, kind of a similar idea that you're kind of in nothing and you need to build it out yourself and like, make it do what you want it to do. Mm-hmm. So I kind of like that kind of discovery. Now, I also like that you're getting these like little question marks. So you're trying to figure out what's behind those question marks. It can be something good, can be something bad. Now you have this enemy type archetype in this game, these obelisks, this darkness, right? You're the light, the darkness is the bad guy. It all makes sense. And it really gets to the point where you're going to have to keep in mind, because as the day cycles go, you might just get surprised by some dark attacking your stuff. So you need to have the amount of light to be able to battle it. Now, the coolest part of this game, and it's like such a simple thing, and I just love it, is like the mini game aspect. Whenever you want to do something specifically on a tile, whether it's hunt something or chop down trees or battle the darkness, you go in, you just play like a really quick mini game, which you don't have to. You can actually build something out that will play the mini games for you, but like it's just fun. It's just like a little stupid thing. Now the way you play them is like, it costs resources to do the thing, and based on how well you do the thing will either net you more resources in what you were trying to get or prevent you from losing more resources. So all that being said, this was like such a cozy little gameplay experience that was very surprising to me as well, because I'm not a big city builder player either, but it just was like fun to play. And like, at certain points you're like, wow, like I really built out something really cool, and it kind of held my hand along the way, at least in the early game, which was kind of nice. And then you get to the later game, you're like, oh, I'm ready to actually do it on my own. So big fan of everything going on in the gameplay here. Now, how much of the story did you get through, and how'd you like it?
I don't think I got through too much because I actually was playing through like the puzzle and the Curious Expeditions mode a bit. So I didn't get through too much of the story, other than I guess finding out the name of the bad guy,
Mm.
Noir, right? I guess is the
Newt, I think
Oh,
maybe.
Newt,
Yeah.
Newt. Yeah, so I got to that point in the story where it's kind of the inverse of this flame character that Tom was mentioning before. That kind of keeps, I guess, placing these sort of like darkness tornadoes down that like destroy some of your blocks. So that is, like you said, you're kind of dispelling the darkness, so that there's that kind of inherited story there. But I didn't get too far into it because honestly, like you, I wasn't really expecting there to be a story in the game. So it's really cool that there is. Not that it's a very in-depth story, at least from what I got through, but it at least was like enough to keep me a little bit interested. It reminded me of like I played like Ring Fit Adventure, which is like a workout game for the Switch, and they kind of have a story in there to keep you going. But it's really just about the levels that you're going through. But yeah, I don't know how far in the story did you get? Was there a lot more to it?
I guess I'm like about halfway. I unlocked all of the story levels because
Hmm.
like you generate these. I forget what the currency is for like the meta progression, but you generate
Yep.
this currency. When you go back to the main menu, you can unlock things like the modes or different levels, and then each level in the story also you can unlock the higher difficulty. You can play normal, hard, and then there's like impossible or something like that you can unlock. So for people who want more of a challenge or get used to this game and want the challenge, they can do that. And I got halfway through. Now, I would say the first two levels, there's not a whole lot of story, right? You're just kind of going through, you're kind of understanding what's going on. And then you get to the third level. And I think that's when the flame character, lure, I don't know. I don't know how to pronounce it. But the flame character says, I don't really remember what I was before this, before you start playing this game, really.
Hmm.
And I want to start figuring it out. Right. So it gives you like a goal. So you'll go around and you're trying to find secrets and, kind of hints as to what this character is. And then as you do that, you will kind of find your end goal to get to. And it's not really a spoiler alert because you could see what the last level is called based on what
Hmm.
you can unlock. I don't know what happens in it, but the last level is called Beacon of Light. So your whole goal here in the story is to kind of bring light back to the world. It's been shrouded in darkness. So it's just a really like cute little story point, and like you kind of get these little tidbits of nice little lore as you play, especially once you get to that third level, like, or even in the second level you start to get it. In the second level you have to take care in one of two ways: orcs. So orcs will show up, these orc camps, right? And if you ignore them, they'll start destroying your stuff, so you have to deal with them in one of two ways. One of the ways is killing them, battling them, or the other way is to make peace with them. Get like a treaty going. So I chose to like make peace with all of them because it was honestly cheaper in resources to do. But like
Hmm.
also I was like more interested as to like why that was an option. So every time you did it, they would kind of give you a tidbit. Each orc camp would be like, oh yeah, we're like aggressive because X, Y, and Z, something happened to us. So like you're kind of getting the motives behind these these like kind of NPCs in this story. And then then there's like other lore stuff, like there's pirates in one that are like trying to plunder
Oh.
stuff, and then like a witch will show up, and then like a druid shows up in like a different like forest, and it's like the druid's like, you can go left, right, or middle, and you're like, I'll pick one of them. I don't know what's gonna happen. So like it's kind of chock full of these like little mini, almost like random encounters in like a RPG, which I really liked, and it was very cool. I'm fully invested in the story, and I'm actually really excited to continue to play. So it's I'm a huge fan of it.
Hell yeah. Hell
Yeah.
yeah. No, that's awesome. Especially like a game like this, even just watching the gameplay, you're probably not thinking there's a lot of story to it. So I'm surprised it kind of got that depth that you're talking about, where it just I want to figure out who I was before this. I'm like, whoa, this just got deep, you know. I don't know that, but that's pretty cool, for sure. And I know, another strong point of the game, in my opinion, is the art. It's got this really great pixel art, that also it uses light really well. Obviously, we're talking about like dispelling darkness, um, but I just really enjoy kind of the, I don't know, the brightness of the light for some of the upgrades that you get. I also think the UI is really well done. It's very simple. It's not too busy. I find that like when I look at other like city builders, it can kind of look a little overwhelming. This game definitely doesn't feel like that. But yeah, the really each block has like a good amount of detail to it, but it doesn't ever, to me. There might be different biomes that are kind of like up against each other. That's usually how it's kind of laid out. I mean, you can kind of see it right now, but it never looked like bad to me. Like it still made sense from like the grid system. I was never like, oh, there's like this looks ugly. It definitely still, kind of came through because it's such strong pixel art and it's so detailed with each block. So yeah, I don't have a lot of notes about the art because I think it kind of speaks for itself, but I really enjoyed it in this game, and I'm curious to see. You obviously got through more of the story than I did. How did the other enemies look? Because I met the orcs, and I some other enemies too that were like giant rock creatures and things like that, but didn't get to see those other ones. So curious what your thoughts are on those.
Oh yeah, I mean, there's no doubt that the visuals here are so incredible, and it's just like cute pixel art. It matches the vibe. It's really doing a great job here. The contrast, like you said, of the light to dark is really neat, and it's just like easy on the eyes, right? Like
Yeah.
that, it can be so overwhelming playing like a city builder and other things like it, that it could be so easy for things to get out of control. So I really enjoy it. And then even the little dynamic movement within these tiles is really great. I mean, if you're watching the YouTube video right now, there is like a tornado happening. It happens throughout the game, and it always looks really cool. But also, it's like you associate it with the stressfulness of it, which is kind of fun. There's one of the mini games happening right now as well, which is a lot. It's just like it's fun. It's just straight up fun, and I do love, especially as you continue through the story, the some of the other tiles that you get presented with look like, because you get used to these basic ones, right? Forest, desert, some tents, this, that, the other thing, maybe some water. But then you see some of like the weird random ones. Like there was a swamp one shows up, and it just looks so different from the rest of the tiles. And like a witch will show up there and build a house, and then you're like, oh, maybe I want to keep this witch because like she can make potions, but then she like eats some of your people or something like that, and you're like, now I gotta kill you. It's like it was really impressive. And there's one level before the last level. It's called the Colts or whatever. I don't know what it's about. It's not a spoiler alert, but you just see like on the menu, it has a tile of like these purple glowing houses, and you're like, I gotta get to at least that level because that
Mm,
looks so cool.
yeah.
So huge fan of the art here. And just to kind of keep going, the visuals are pretty sick too. Or not the visuals, the sound and the music.
Yeah,
Sorry.
we just talked about it, Tom. I
Just,
know. Yeah.
sorry, no, the sound and the music is quite good. Now, I
That's,
think
yeah.
the
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
sound effects really shine here. Kind of whenever you're moving, right? You kind of get this like it sounds like a little bubble popping,
Mhm.
when you're going from tile to tile, and it sounds really neat. Then you kind of get that slow little pixelated fire sound from your main character that you kind of just hear throughout the game, which is kind of fun. And then you got rain effects, and then you can kind of feel the different sounds are even kind of funny at times. Like when you hunt things, because you can hunt things, it becomes like a little mini game. It makes weird noises when you shoot the deer or whatever you're shooting. it's just it's all good, and the soundtrack's really relaxing. It lends itself to the cozy vibes. Yeah, I was
Yeah.
a big fan here.
Yeah, same here. Honestly, all the same notes as you, other than so I don't know why, but every time I played this game, the audio was so low. And everything else on my computer, like I tested, I made sure that my volume was up and everything. I like opened up YouTube videos and other games, and like it was all normal. But for some reason, I don't know if it's maybe a bug in the game, but it was like so low. I had to like turn up everything like way past what I normally do. But once I did, it sounded great. So I don't know if anyone runs across that same issue. Let me know in the comments of the YouTube video, because I don't know if it's just a me thing, but that was just one weird issue. I guess that's kind of on the performance side, which I know we'll get into. But yeah, all the same notes, really. Sound effects were great. Soundtrack very cozy, like you said, lends itself to that vibe. And yeah, just kind of fit perfectly in with like, I don't know, like just the look of the game. It like ties it in so nicely that I would expect a soundtrack like this for a game that looks like this. So yeah, they did a great job with it. Just that weird kind of low volume issue for me for some reason, where from the menus all the way up until the gameplay, everything was just like low across the board. I'm not really sure why, but great otherwise when I could hear it. So that's good.
Yeah, I didn't experience that. I did play it on the Steam Deck the whole time, and it played awesome on the Steam Deck.
Hmm.
Yeah, I actually had to lower it a little bit because, well, I mean, I was playing next to Lady Fresh, so I didn't want to, blast her ears off. But
Yeah.
yeah. I mean, yeah. I guess that's the performance side. I mean, I didn't really run into any issues off the bat here. Pretty good. They do have a bug report button on the menu, which is nice. You
Yep.
know, solo dev. This is pretty impressive. So we got to get to the rating here. We have multiple different ratings. I keep notes of what the what our ratings are. Certified Fresh Juice is our best rating. These are games like Norp Apolog, Preserve, Balatro, Sworn. Uh, we have the Steel after that. Things like Ballionaire, Crypt Custodian, The Cub, On Sale. These are games that, a lot of games fall into this category where not perfect, still fun, but, might want to wait till they're on sale. Things like Wizard with a Gun, Hellscape. And then we have Manager Special, games that perhaps only a certain kind of player is going to enjoy, really genre specific, that we didn't particularly like, or maybe give it a shot on a really deep discount or even free to play. And then finally, games that we don't think anybody should play is Spoiled Milk. Luckily, we don't get a lot of Spoiled Milks, but they do
Yep.
pop up from time to time. Matthew Juicerton, what is your rating for Dawnfolk?
All right, so I have an idea. All right, I think we should say our ratings at the same time and see if they're the same rating, and then if you want to do it that way,
Yeah. I mean,
just for fun.
we didn't discuss this prior, just
No.
so everybody knows. All right, yeah, I'm down with that.
All right, so I'll go 3, 2, 1, and then we'll say it.
Yeah.
Okay. 3, 2, 1. Certified
Certified
fresh
fresh
juice.
juice.
Oh, look at that.
Yeah.
Yes, so I'm giving it a certified fresh juice. Honestly, it was a game I kind of had to wrap my head around a little bit at first, because I'm not used to playing games like this. But the onboarding was great. The tutorial is great. They do walk you along, just really well for like a player like me. And it's definitely a game that I'll continue to play. I'd love to see it on mobile. I think it would do really well on mobile. And I think the Steam Deck's also perfect, for a game like this. So, yeah, I'm giving it a certified fresh juice. I think solo dev. This is like it's giving me like Norp Apolog vibes, and just in terms of like how impressive a solo dev could be. So, yeah, certified fresh juice for me.
Yeah, it's same for me. Obviously, was pretty like hyped on this game. I think I saw it. I'm like, this looks like it could be something. So I definitely came in with high expectations, and I think they actually exceeded them,
Yeah.
right? Because I just thought it was like, oh, this is gonna be a cute little package of a game, then you kind of get in there and you're like, oh, there's a lot in here. This is a lot for a solo dev and for the $15 price tag or whatever. So you're just like, wow, this is so impressive. And you kind of fall in love with the world. It feels very different. And you kind of like continue to want to play it. This kind of reminds me of a more lighthearted Loop Hero, not in gameplay but in vibes. So like I love Loop Hero, so it was like kind of like nice to get a little bit more of that. I feel like maybe there was some inspiration there. I can't really say, but Darren Keller obviously really put a lot of effort into this, and really it paid off, because I think that Dawnfolk is like such an impressive game. And I would say to anyone that doesn't play city builders, we're not that, right? That's not our type of game, really.
Mm-hmm.
I would say it's totally worth checking out if you just like really like a good indie game, and this will onboard you and have a great time with it. It'll be a good game.
Yes. Yes.
Sorry, I was burping there at the end, but we made it through. But yeah, no, that's 2 certified fresh juices back to back.
Yeah.
If you can
Never
believe
happened
it.
before.
Never happened before.
Never happened.
February is looking to be one of the best months of
And
the pod.
the toughest one for best February game. What are we going to say?
It's good. It's actually going to be really hard.
Yeah.
For me especially. I'm not, because I think we have another banger coming out next week. Hopefully, it's a game called Die in the Dungeon. There's a decent amount of hype. It's coming out in early access. We'll be reviewing that game. A roguelike dice builder, I think it's probably what you would call it. So excited for that. Dawnfolk, Sworn, 2 bangers. Let's keep it going. Let's also keep it going with some listener questions. These can be submitted in the Fresh Juice Discord, free for everybody to join, of course. The first one comes from K-Moore. Since you're a soon-to-be dad, are you going to make a list of games you'd like to introduce to your daughter?
That's for you, right?
It's for me? Yeah. No, not yet.
Yeah, no, great question, K-More. I definitely will be. I mean, I've already kind of have like a mental list, because even before, I knew I was going to be a dad, which is weird to say. You you always kind of talk about like, oh, like, can't wait to like play Minecraft with my kid. It's a good game to like learn, the basics of being a gamer or whatever. So yeah, no, I've definitely kind of thought about it. As far as what games are on that list right now, I mean, obviously this could change based on when she's able to actually play games, but Minecraft, like I mentioned, is on there. Elden Ring, start her out, in the fire, see how she does. No, but yeah, I don't know. I mean, probably just like Nintendo party games, Mario Party, Mario Kart, stuff like that. But would love to, hear any indie recommendations of what I should be, playing with her at some point. A little Astro Duel 2, something like that.
No,
I don't know.
I think you were onto it with the Elden Ring there.
Man. Yeah.
I think so.
All right.
First year, probably, maybe give it a year, I would say.
Yeah. I mean, that might be a little late. I might have to do in the first few months.
Sure.
Start them early.
I think Dawnfolk, I mean, probably for like a 7-year-old, I think could probably wrap their heads around this game. Like if they already have a proclivity for kind of like organizing and doing stuff like that. If they like Legos, I mean, obviously Minecraft's the big one, but this might be a cool one to show, I would say.
Yeah. Baltro too,
Get them started young.
This is how gambling always is.
Yeah. Oh, that was some news. So actually, there was some Baltro news. Rewind to the news section. I saw, and I'm blanking on the name. I saw it on YouTube, but a YouTuber who designed a couple of the arts for the Jokers in Balatro. I think Vagabond being the big one that they did. It revealed art for another Joker that ended up not being used. And it was like really sick. We don't know what it's supposed to do. They just showed the art, but like it was
Cool.
like this like metallic computer face with like 5 cards that had a question mark on it. So like, oh, it was like if you play or all cards are face down or something like that, and you have to play one of each or something like that. I'm not sure, but it was cool. It was cool. And also I think we got a little bit of a confirmation for the content update, which somebody was interviewing Local Thunk, and Local Thunk did confirm there will be new Jokers and a lot of other fixes, but wouldn't say much else other than that. But
hell yeah,
that's the only news that I saw this week. But speaking of Balatro, Capolo comes in with a question that says, Balatro was the big breakout game of 2024. Which indie game do you think will be the next breakout game to make it to the mainstream media this year? Or I guess just next in general.
Yeah. That's that. I mean, it's tough because I feel like Balatro kind of came out of nowhere, really for us at least. And I feel like Baltro's reached some, it's kind of raised the bar. I think it's in that elite category. So in terms of like what the next like elite indie game would be, that's tough to say. I mean, like obviously, we gave great reviews to Dawnfolk and to Sworn, but I don't view them in that category where like mainstream, it's going to hit the mainstream, right? And really be that next kind of thing. I don't know. Do you have any ideas about this one, Tommy, of like what maybe has the potential to be in that same category?
Yeah, this is tough. There needs to be the wide appeal. Like you said, Dawnfolk doesn't have it. I mean, Sworn probably is close, but it's just I don't think enough story in it, like Hades was, to kind of like break it out into there. We have some big sequels that doesn't really count, like Silk Song probably is going to be a mainstream success, and you hope that what do you call it? Slay the Spire 2 also kind of sees that success. It's hard to say. Like I don't think it's easy to know until it happens, right? Like I think we would know when we play it, right? But we won't know ahead of time, if that makes sense. It's a cop out answer, but like it's we're gonna probably come across a game that we're like, oh, this looks cool. People are talking about it a little bit, and we'll play it, and then we're gonna be like, wow, this is probably the next big thing. But like, Balatro is really unique in that sense.
Yeah, and we had that feeling when we played it too for the first time of just like this is something special, and you kind of just know right away. So yeah, it's tough. I mean, I had that feeling with Animal Well too, but like
Sure.
I still don't think it reached the heights of like Balatro. And Balatro also, I mean, like it's a game that's on mobile. Like it's just kind of can be everywhere. Not every game can be everywhere, and it's also so simple at the same time. So yeah, it's tough to know ahead of time, but I think because of previous history, right, with like what you were saying with Silk Song and with Slay the Spire 2, like we expect those to be good. But as far as something that comes out of nowhere, that's like a new IP, like a Stardew Valley kind of situation, it's hard to predict that. I don't know, Capolo. You tell us. Be like, hey, I just played this indie game. This is the next big one, and no one's talking about it.
Yeah, I mean, it could be. I mean, I'm just looking at my wish list right now. Some things that I think could do it. I think that He Is Coming. Like,
really, you do?
Okay. I think that He Is Coming, the game, could have like exceeded expectations or exceeded success of the expectations held for it, which are already pretty high. I think people are pretty hype on this like weird little auto battler. I think
Mhm.
people love auto battlers, especially in this era. I think that Death Howl, which is a demo I just started messing around with, which is a Souls like deck builder. Really great demo. People are really hyped on that. So when that
Mhm.
gets its full release, I think that could be something. And like the art in it is so unique and cool. I think it could really go the distance. I have been loving the closed beta for As We Descend. They've been making a lot of improvements, I would say, from the original demo. So that could be something as well. And it's also from a bigger indie developer. So yeah, it's tough. I mean, The King is Watching is another one. I think it's like so weird that you that could just be like a hit and people just kind of love it if they can wrap their heads around it.
Mhm.
So it's very exciting. I don't know. I
Yeah.
don't know which one was going to do it, if any of them.
Yeah, they should. We need some Vegas odds on these.
Yeah, I
Um,
think so.
yeah,
Well, Vegas watches this show, of course. The
yeah.
whole the whole city. Um, Next question goes from Rcarp11, who somehow knew this. Dawnfolk features a fire character. Which season do you prefer for a bonfire?
I season 5. No. I like a early fall bonfire, maybe like a September, October. I like when it's like a little bit chilly, but
Hmm.
not too chilly. And you have a good bonfire going. Yeah, it's probably then. But I mean, I'll go for it anytime. If it's snowing out, I'm down for that. If it's July, sure, why not? But yeah, probably early fall. By you?
I'm a late fall bonfire fiend. I'm with you. I like it any time of year, or even like a March maybe. Like when it
Hmm.
just starts to get a little warm, and you're like, okay, but it's still chilly at night. You want to have a bonfire. I think that's pretty nice. I do like a nice fire to kind of like sit around and talk some shit. It's
Yeah,
nice. It's
yeah.
very nice. But thanks for the question, Art Carp. Always bangers from you. Finally, it's time to say goodbye. But not before we go to the rec room where we recommend something that perhaps isn't an indie game. Matthew, what do you have to recommend this week?
So I am recommending a new TV show that Maria and I have started watching. It's on Adult Swim. It's called Common Side Effects. It's an animated show. Has a really interesting art style. That's just like somehow it's like weird but like captivating at the same time. And it is, I think it's like 20 to 30 minute episodes, but it's like funny, but also has kind of like an interesting story. Basically, like, the main character is like a mycologist, right? That's how you say that. And he discovers like this mushroom that can like heal people. So like if you get shot, in the head, like you can eat it and you'll heal, you'll regenerate. If you have like dementia or something, it can heal like anything. It's like a magic mushroom. And there is a he kind of like runs into like his old friend, this girl from like high school, and she works for this like massive pharmaceutical company. So it's kind of like a big commentary on like big pharma, essentially, the show. And they're trying to like find him. The FBI is looking for him because they know he has like these mushrooms that could just heal people. So yeah, but it also has like comedy kind of woven throughout it, and it's surprisingly good. Like after we finished the first episode, we were like, wow, that like I want to know what happens next. Like that was pretty good. So we just finished episode 4 actually right before recording this one, and that was a great one as well. So yeah, Common Side Effects. I recommend it. Great animated show, which I feel like I don't. I mentioned this with Bob's Burgers. I don't really like a lot of new animated shows usually because I just feel like they're kind of just like regurgitating what we've already had. But Common Side Effects really good so far. 4 eps in, so there you go.
Yeah, I saw a clip of it on TikTok, which I'm back on. Now
Yeah.
that is back, and or it was Instagram. I don't know, but it was a clip for the two DEA agents, like just being silly. And I'm like, this looks kind of fun.
Yeah.
And I did see Common Side Effects was the name of the show, and like in one of the hashtags, but like I kind of forgot about it, and then I saw you had it listed here. I was like, how do I know this? What is it? And you told me, and I was like, oh yeah, that did look funny. So
Yeah.
yeah, I think I'll probably check that out. Especially like nice little bite size, kind of episodes. What how
Yeah.
long is the season, do you know? Or is it fully out?
I don't know. No, it comes out weekly every Sunday.
Okay.
So it might be like a 10 episode season, I'd guess. Maybe 8 to 10 episodes based on like the pacing of it right now.
Cool, cool, cool. I'll be
Yeah.
checking it out. My recommendation is a book. Books, Jerry. This
Ooh.
is the second book that I've read this year. This is, shooting for 12, and I'm way ahead of schedule. We're about halfway through February. I finished my second book. This is The Black Tongue Thief by Christopher Buehlman. Christopher Buehlman's an author that I really enjoyed, probably his most famous book, which is Between Two Fires. And that was like a really kind of like dark medieval, like kind of dark comedy, but like also like it would get like really, really gross and like horror, themes. It was like it had a lot of different themes, and it
Right
was
up your
really good.
alley.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, it's perfect for me. But Black Tongue Thief is his kind of stab at a fantasy novel,
Mm,
right? So I was like, oh, I'll check it out. Like it looked kind of cool. Kind of read the description, and it was a fun ride. It was a quick read, and follows this main character, Kinch, who is a thief, obviously, and has a black tongue because of where he's from, the country, in the world, and he basically is doing his thief stuff, and then he kind of comes across a kind of woman who has like this giant warbird with her that kind of like messes up people pretty easily, and for whatever reason the guild that he belongs to for the thiefdom is like, you gotta stay with her, and you need to follow her because she's going somewhere. So you gotta stick with her. You're not privy to know why. We're not going to tell you why, but you have to, or else we're going to kill you anyway. So he's like, all right. So he goes along with her, and he's doing his thing, and they kind of go on this like adventure, and I can't really like spoil it, but like it's cool, right? Like it kind of challenges some of the typical fantasy tropes, which I kind of liked. I love fantasy, but sometimes the tropes get a little weird. The main character, the thief, is very funny. It's through his voice, and you know there is kind of like some crudeness to it, which is funny, and it's a good time. So, it was one of those books where like I'm getting to the end, I'm like, I don't know if I'm gonna like this if they don't wrap this up well, because you're like, there's a
yeah.
lot of tension. I gotta know, like they gotta tie this together somehow for me, and then I think they did it really well right at the end, and then kind of give you a nice cliffhanger for any future books. Which I think there's a prequel book, so I'm probably gonna read that next. So, yeah, Black Tongue Thief by Christopher Buehlman. If you like reading, I know there's an audiobook too. So if you like audiobooks, check that out. It's good. It's a good
Cool.
time.
I think it has a great name and should be a movie, you know?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
I think that would be sweet.
Yeah. Sounds pretty sweet.
We need like a good fantasy movie, like
Yeah.
these days. Like I don't. When's the last good one? I guess the Dungeons and Dragons movie was supposed
Yeah, I
to be
was gonna
good.
say, yeah, actually, yeah, that movie was like surprisingly awesome.
Yeah, I heard
Went in with like
that.
no expectations, and I was like, wow, this is a lot of fun. Yeah, that's probably the last one I can think of. Yeah, that was good.
Yeah, it'd be cool to have a new IP do it. I think that would
Yeah,
be kind of neat. So, yeah, it was a fun read. Now I got to figure out what the next book I'm reading. I think it's The Day of the Triffids or something like that. Old sci-fi book. So,
there you
books.
go.
I read
Books.
books. I read books, Jerry.
Do you go to the library, by the way, or you just have these books?
I have these books.
Okay.
I'm like, I like collecting things.
Yeah.
So I should go to the library, but I I like it to be mine. I don't know. It's whatever.
You're
It's just
mine.
and thrift
Yeah.
books is a great resource for anybody who wants to like find like cheap books. You can get like 10 books for $10 and you're just
Oh,
like,
wow.
oh, and you're off to the races. So
There
I
you
would
go.
check out something like that. But that's going to do it for the show. Thanks everybody for tuning in. I've been one of your hosts, Tommy Fresh. I have another podcast called Fresh and Buzz, talk about the game Flesh and Blood. Check that out. I'm at Fresh Buds Pod everywhere. Anything and all at once. No, that's not what it's called. And you can find us on at Fresh Juice Pod everywhere. And Matthew, where can people find you?
Find me at Matty Gorm, Gorm, on all of the socials and such. And I will see you there. And next week, Tommy, episode 74.
74. You know what they say about 74? You gotta juice it when it gets juicy. So go ahead. Juicy, juicy, juicy. Oh, wait. If it ain't worth the juice, you're not worth the squeeze.